My team came to me a few months ago and said, what are we going to do for our last session of the year? And we reflected a bit on what the year has been like and where we believe technology is going in the year ahead, where our own technology has come in the last year and where we see it going in the year ahead, what we have planned. And that's the outcome of this session today. So we're going to talk a lot about growth, which of course is the focus of our industry, and you could say Snappy Kraken's very purpose for existing, to serve advisors and help them grow. And then we're also going to talk a good bit about data and the role that data plays today in an advisory firm, the importance of it, the structure of it, the security of it, the ownership of it. We're going to talk about how it can be leveraged to create connection. And that's thereby the theme of this event: how connected growth gives you time for what matters most. And connection, it comes from the connection of the technology and the data and the automation, but it also comes from the connection with people. And we know at the heart of this business, people are truly the most important aspect. So, how does technology and data lead to better outcomes for people and even for you as an individual with your advisory firm? So, thank you for spending this time with us. That's a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. And what we're going to talk about first is just a little retrospective on 2025, since this is our last event of the year. And it's interesting, if you go to almost any technology website, they promise to save you time. Maybe you've seen that. Every advisor tech tool promises to save you time. And there's so much innovation and so much noise around that innovation. But does it really feel like you're getting more time back? I don't know about you, but I don't. I mean, I feel like time is flying out the window. It just, this 2025 went by at a blistering pace. And maybe you've experienced that as well. So I don't think technology is doing a great job yet at really giving us all the time back that we want. There are some tools that do. But we're going to talk today about what that really means and what it looks like and how that promise of time saved can actually manifest into real time saved. I think of 2025 really as the year of AI in our industry, being implemented, talked about at every juncture and every corner. We've been talking about AI for years, but really this year it's come into the mainstream, into every conversation. We've seen the rise of AI conferences, a proliferation of AI tools, and it's really become table stakes. It's been a big shift. You could say this is probably the fastest year for AI that we've ever seen. It's in every conversation. Sometimes I get tired of talking about it. Sometimes I wish people wouldn't always want to talk about AI. But it is. It's in more tools. It's in more data, more distractions, more client expectations. All these things are just really weighing on the advisory community, and it reveals cracks, disconnected systems that you may have, and the efforts to implement new systems and bring them into the fold, and they're not all talking together and working together. It's really exposed some cracks. And people, in spite of all this technology, in many respects, feel less connected than ever. So it's been a big shift, but maybe not all for the better. But we have learned some things that AI can do really well. First of all, AI is no longer just a future state, a theory. It is now in everything we do. It is foundational. It's as foundational to business today as Word docs and spreadsheets. It truly is. There's not a business that is not probably being touched by AI in some way. Even a service business, likely their billing software is leveraging AI. So it's in our everyday workflows as well. And I'm sure you've experienced this. And actually, on this point, I just want to do a quick poll here for the webinar. I'm really interested to know from those of you who are attending, how often do you use AI? And we'll share the results here in just a minute. Whether you use it daily, weekly, monthly, or never, I'm interested to see. And we'll publish that in just a second. Because what's happening is that although advisors are adopting AI largely, they also seem to have a high degree of fatigue because of all the talk about AI, all the tools. Let me go ahead and end this poll and share the results with you, which I think you'll find interesting. So more than half, at least, of those represented in this poll are using AI every single day. You add in the 30% that use it weekly, and you could say 83% of people attending this webinar in the advisory industry are using AI regularly, daily or weekly. And you can see how it drops down monthly or even never, but clearly the majority in that category. So AI is helping us in some ways. What are the ways that it is helping us? Well, first of all, it solves some core challenges. We are speeding up manual and repetitive tasks. AI is automating a lot of those things. That's good. It's speeding up content creation. You may have experienced that. That's probably one of the use cases for AI. I know for me personally, things like composing emails, I use voice to text and then AI to clean it up, and that is a real time saver for me. It can now trigger key workflows in the business. It can do segmentation automatically for clients and prospects. When I started consulting with firms almost 20 years ago, I would do every segmentation exercise manually with spreadsheets. And those days are gone. AI can do that automatically now. And speed to lead, which we'll talk about a little bit. AI can bring in leads, enrich those leads, identify who they are, do research on them, draft responses, and respond in a matter of minutes. And that speed to lead is improving better outcomes for firms. And we'll break all that down later. But these are some of the things that AI is well equipped to solve right now. However, there are a lot of things it can't solve. And if you've experienced any of these things, I think the content of today's session will resonate with you. You've still got all these different tools, but they're not all connected. They're not all really sharing data and talking to each other. We're going to talk about how to fix that. This is creating fragmented experiences inside your firm for your people and perhaps also for your clients as disparate systems are all being used. Different logins can be a challenge. And all these things being sort of stitched together manually. You're downloading a spreadsheet from one, you're uploading it into another, you're entering data manually still. And that means sometimes things are falling through the cracks. Consistency and quality may not be there. And so AI does not solve all the problems. And I think this is a really good place to start with this presentation because there's a lot of hype. And the hype is not all the reality. And in fact, if you talk to marketers and experts from this industry, the majority will say that AI has not reduced fragmentation, but rather has increased it. So that is where we are today as we reflect on 2025. This massive growth in AI, and yet still some of these fundamental challenges. And so we're here to make a prediction as well about what 2026 is going to look like. And what I believe is that 2026 will be a year of connection. And that's the purpose and theme of this session today, is to talk about connected growth. Because if you take all of this power that AI has for content creation and segmentation and publishing, and then you realize that it's all disconnected, that power is never realized fully. But when it is connected, then you can benefit from that technology and those advances. And there are some foundational things that have to be done for that type of connected experience. There's some work, but it's creating a shift. As we go into the new year, we're going to see this shift from just more AI tools to more connection. When we talk about connection today, let's explain what we mean. Connection really on these four fronts. Number one, your data. Your data has to be connected. And I'm saying that right now, sort of at a macro level, connect your data, but we'll get into the micro of what that really means here in a little bit. So connected data, connected systems. Your systems really should not be all existing separately with a lot of manual work, stitching them together. And the best providers in this space are working together to connect and make that easy for you. And I'll share some examples as well today. Connected channels, so that the experience that people are having as they go from your website to your social profiles or as they're going through some kind of journey, everything feels cohesive and connected. And channels can be managed and reported on in a connected way. So you're not over here just running your LinkedIn strategy and it's completely separate from your Facebook strategy and completely separate from your website. Connected across channels. And what that creates is a connected client journey. So the prospects that are cold, they are on a predictable connected journey to becoming warm, to becoming hot, to becoming clients to be serviced well as clients on this journey, and then to expand and become high net promoters who are referring to you. So all of this connection requires that tools and data are working together to do what it needs to do for you. And if you're an advisor or a marketer in an advisory firm, this is critical that the systems do this for you. Because let's face it, advisors, you didn't get into this business to be a marketer. You got into this business because you want to spend time with clients. You want to help them. You want to work with them. You're going to do planning and prospecting. You're going to be a coach and a consultant and a guide and a mentor. And marketing is essential, but it's not what really matters to most advisors at the core of their time and their day. And marketing leaders, they want the tech that supports the strategy, but they need this to be unified so that the data and the journeys are all working in the way they need to. Now, for both marketers in this industry, if you're a marketing leader listening to this, or you're an advisor, you have to remember that every bit of time that you spend working on manual processes and you don't have good systems or automations, it's coming away from things you value, the other priorities you have in your life, your family, your clients, your career development, your friends, your hobbies, travel. These are all things that should be using more of your time than managing systems. We certainly hope that's the case. And it's also important that advisors are freed up to focus on the relationship, because that's the heart of this business. And that's what technology can't replace, is the relationship. I actually, on that note, I want to take a minute. I want to tell you a brief story. I'm gonna digress for just a second, because I had an interesting experience the other day. So let's see if I can show you this. Oh, it's not coming up on the video. Let me see. Let me turn off my my background here for a second, and then I'll be able to show you this. All right. So this is a little story, personal story. All right. So this is a book called Adapt or Die: 5 Ways the Financial Industry is Evolving and How Advisors Must Adapt to Survive. Now, I wrote this book in 2014. So this book is got 11 years of shelf life now. All right, not a new book at all. So I wrote this book in 2014. 11 years ago, the 5 areas where I said firms had to adapt to survive. Number one in the book was automation. I just want to read you a quick excerpt. This is so from 2014, Robert Sophia. I said, the wisest advisors are automating their businesses and taking advantage of new developments in information and communication technology. It's funny because you can tell just by the language I use that this is a little bit older. At risk of sounding corny, you can automate everything except human nature. People will always want to have relationships. We're going to want to have friends, and we'll always have friends and business relationships that are important to us. You have to spend money on technology. At the same time, however, you cannot rely merely on these relationships. You must have the latest and greatest when it comes to automation. This way, your clients can go find you and get access to these tools that they might otherwise have access to on their own, but through you, get both the technology and the benefit of the strong personal relationship. That combination is very difficult to beat. So, point is, I've been talking about this for a long time. This is not new. But in an advisory firm, that point still stands. You have to use the technology to automate all the things that are not going to enrich you and your clients, enrich your life, the things that you love to do, and enrich your clients with better client experiences that will separate you from the things the technology can do. Because let's face it, things like portfolio management is now algorithmic and faster and faster. That will be a hard way to differentiate, just as investment management has been for some time, a hard way to differentiate. So it's the relationships. So use the tech to take everything off your plate, except the relationships, the key parts, the place where in the process a person needs to get engaged. Because right now, if you actually look at the data out there, advisors are losing 30 to 40% of their time in the office, in their work week. 30 to 40%, they're losing it to non-client related activities. This is from Kitz's research. And, he's a good researcher. The data is solid. So if you can take that back and put it into the relationships and into yourself, that's where you're going to get the gains. And that is the big shift that we expect to see in 2026. The change from just a proliferation of AI tools to connected growth. What does this mean? I just talked about why it's important, but what does it actually mean? Let's break it down. All right. First, connected data. So all of your data across all of your systems is working together. Number two, the systems are connected. So if the data is connected, that means the systems can work in tandem as well. For example, a very high level example, if you change a client's status or a contact record status in your CRM from prospect to client in one system, that can trigger activities that need to be done for that client. In your CRM, all of your tasks. But in your marketing automation system, that same activity, that same switch from prospect to client can trigger a series of outreach communications that would be tailored to a client relationship versus a prospect relationship. Connected systems, connected data, because the data will tell when that happens. And we could go into more examples. The purpose of that connection is the connected journey. So the clients and prospects feel always that what they're receiving is relevant for them, tailored to them. Now, this is a fairly complex topic. Connected data, we could talk about data and geek out a little bit, but I know that's probably not going to be productive. But let me use a visual aid to explain what I'm talking about here with connected data. So let's say this is raw data. Okay, so raw data, even a ton of it. People will say, "Oh, I have so much data. I have email lists, and I have all this data in my CRM, and I have all this data from my website, and I have all these meeting notes, and I have all this data on past event attendees, and I have all this data on my social engagement. All this data in all these systems." You know, all that raw data is useless without structure. You see, in the age of AI, the difference between growth and stagnation comes down to one thing: how clean and structured your data is so it can be used to drive that growth. Because if you're going to automate things, if you're going to work your marketing activities online with AI, they need patterns. AI needs patterns. Patterns only emerge when data is consistently organized. So your marketing platform, your CRM, and your AI tools, they can't infer what they need to do from unsorted data. This will just slow down automation, kill personalization, and limit what AI can really do for you. So remember this: raw data is potential energy, but it needs structure. Which brings you to sorting the data. See, sorting creates meaning. Sorting is enabling automation to work with AI correctly. So once data is sorted, then the relationships start to appear, right? You've got engaged versus disengaged contacts, high value versus low value contacts. So for automation, sorting is what makes the difference between blast this to everyone and send it to the right group of people at the right time. So AI is how you give context to things, or sorting data is how you give context to things. And AI can then use this. AI models can deliver insight when all your data is no longer just in a junk drawer, but now it is sorted. So even if you're not super technical, you don't have to understand machine learning to do this. You just need categories that make sense. So that could be a few key categories: clients, prospects, high value clients, high value prospects, low value clients, high value clients. It doesn't have to be super robust to start to get the benefit. But sorted data is the foundation for making intelligent decisions. But to get to the next level, your data really needs to be arranged. And so it's a finer level of segmentation, you could say. And this is where true automation and personalization begin. So this is where you start to get into deeper segmentation, like, for example, retirees, pre-retirees, accumulators, Henrys, cold leads, hot leads, clients with upcoming rollovers, clients with upcoming birthdays, clients with clients who've lost a loved one. Like, you can get really finite. And then AI automation, because it depends on context, can begin to predict and score and respond and make recommendations to automate tasks that you'd normally have to spend hours doing manually. So tagging, routing, follow-up, contact selection, next best action, all of that happens when data is arranged. And this is also where compliance becomes easier because every action can be tied to a clean data trail. So you could say that arrangement gives your data purpose. It's what makes personalization at scale possible. So when I say data is the foundation, see, I'm not just talking about data generally. I'm talking about at least sorted. Preferably, if you want real personalization at scale, it needs to be arranged. But it doesn't stop there because then you have to make intelligent decisions about your business. So data should be presented visually. See, visualization is what turns information into insight. So this is business intelligence on your data. And you need a BI layer. Humans and machines both benefit from this because when data is visual, you can see what's working, what's not, where you should invest more, where you should invest less. This is where things like dashboards and heat maps and performance visuals come in. And for non-technical people, this is the moment where clicks finally become usable, not just useless information. And in AI-powered marketing, decisions can be made from visuals, not just gut or guesswork or, hey, I like that, which is purely subjective and may be wrong, or I hate that, which is purely subjective. Data. Visualized data accelerates smarter decisions. And you need your data presented to you in visual ways so you can make those decisions as a firm leader. And yet, there's actually another level of data that really does take it to the level that it needs to be today. And that's when all of this data gets presented as a story. And when it's presented as a story, then the ability to transform how people think is there. Because humans, we understand data on some level, but a story drives action. It motivates. And so the end goal isn't just get charts, right? It's a narrative that tells you what to do next. So story form data answers questions. Questions like, where is this growth coming from? Or which leads are warming up? Or what is the real ROI of our marketing? What segment needs attention? So this is the future, is how you structure, arrange, present your data. And a modern growth system, a modern growth stack should do this for you. It really does need to do this for you. And that's why I think we're going to see more and more connected growth in the year ahead because firms need this and providers must provide it. Or you have to build it from scratch yourself. And we'll talk about some of the pros and cons of doing that. Now, when I say a modern growth system connects the dots for you, let me just take a minute and give you an example. I'm going to tell you a data story, and I'll break that down with another visual. Now, I have shown this visual before, but for the point we're making today about visualizing or telling a data story here, this is really helpful. So data is what makes this possible. So on the far left, you can see you have a contact. This is one contact, one person. We might know nothing about that person. We might have a name and a phone number and an email address. But as you get all the way to the far right, what you see is the outcome of a personal connection happening. A personal message, an email, a video, a phone call, something personal. But in between, what's happening? Well, there is a series of actions that are being queued up and delivered by AI and automation, but based on data. So if we know 3 steps in, or 2 steps in, or 1 step in, this person is a high net worth retiree, for example, and we've enriched them with data to learn that and get a persona on that person, now we have persona appropriate engagement that can happen. So we're not going to send something about RMDs to somebody who's in their 40s. We're not going to send something about college planning to somebody whose kids and grandkids are already through college. And yet this is what most advisory firms do. They send the exact same content to everyone. But when your data is sorted, what happens now is we know who this person is, and the engagement becomes persona appropriate. So they're segmented dynamically into a path that's tailored for them. So down at the bottom, you can see an example of a series of marketing activities that would be triggered, that would be persona appropriate. A series of emails, a series of text messages, driving traffic to a landing page, following up with nurturing sequences, all tailored based on the data that has been gathered through this process. What are they clicking on? What are they viewing? What are they opening? How engaged are they? The system does all of this behind the scenes. This is one example of what Snappy Kraken does. So you can open up a contact and see everything they've ever engaged with. But that's good. It's even better when AI is interpreting that, automatically segmenting the person, and then sending them content that is relevant for them. So your high net worth investors are going into a high net worth engagement campaign. The people with a higher risk profile who are concerned about volatility are going into a volatility prospect nurturing campaign. The people who've inquired about taxes or are likely to have complex tax situations are going to get tax related content. And if they're retired and they're worried about retirement income, they're going to get retirement focused content. So these are examples of 4 different nurturing sequences. We have many, many more. But the system will look at the data, see who they are, and put them into the right sequence for them. This is how you have to think about it. And it goes beyond just prospecting. I mentioned an example earlier of a CRM. You change a person's status from prospect to client. What should be triggered? Well, it should trigger your 90-day new client onboarding campaign automatically that begins to contact them weekly through that period, or at least every few weeks at various intervals. And at the end, sends them automatically a survey, automatically sets it up for a referral opportunity, is scoring that client's engagement, segmenting them accordingly. This should be done behind the scenes with AI. And what happens, we're talking about connected data, connected growth. If all of this is automated, that means a person is coming in at one end, and your systems, your connected systems, are moving them through this flow, but they're only engaging you when there is a personal element. So you shouldn't have to sit down and say, oh yeah, it's time for me to send email 3, or this person hasn't engaged in a while, I should do X, or this person just asked this question, I should put them into Y campaign so it can answer that question for them. All of that should be done with the data. And just to expand on that story a little bit, we talked about data and visualization and the power of actually seeing that data once it's visualized. As all of that is happening, moving people through what's relevant for them, you should have visualization that shows you exactly what your pipeline looks like. And you should be able to sort it and filter it by activity, by time frame, by advisor. If you're running a multi-advisor system like this, you've got 20, 30, 500 advisors, you got a lot of mouths to feed. You got to see where each advisor is at with their pipeline and where you're at globally. And this should all be configurable to your business goals. This is just an example of one way to visualize data that we have inside Snappy Kraken. We do this at the enterprise level. We do it at the individual advisor level. So you can see, right? How many cold leads do I have? How much pipeline exists there? Where did those leads come from? How many are warm? How much pipeline exists there? Where did those leads come from? And the ability for those people to move naturally between those phases based on the data, so the content is continually changing and adapting to them. That's what connected growth does. It moves these relationships forward, and it gives you the ability to tell a story and to visualize that data. So if you're a marketer, you can go back to your CEO and say, here's what we've done. Here's the pipeline we've generated. Not here's the clicks, here's the views, the vanity metrics, but the actual pipeline, the actual results. See, before 2026, like in the past, maybe before the second half of 2025, firms would try to build this, and there are some that have done it, but it's very, very historically very expensive. So the only way to build a system like this in the past was to hire very expensive consultants or in-house experts, which were hard to find because you have to be a marketer and a technologist and a business mind. which is not easy to find. It's a bit of a unicorn. They would go buy very expensive software, spend 10 grand a month on something like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, hire somebody to configure all that, hire marketing people and a team, and spend 6 to 12 months building and testing before they would even really start to see results. And in the process, creating all their own content and campaigns for this purpose. So this was the only way to do it. This is really the old reality. And the implementation and execution of that is truly an uphill battle. And so what we're seeing now is a lowering of access, because whereas in the past you needed like a massive budget, a ton of specialized expertise, a bunch of programming to integrate everything, and a bunch of time to figure it out, today that's being dramatically expedited. And that's why a lot of firms have started down this path and actually failed. In fact, it's funny, my buddy, CEO of Wealthbox, John Rourke, out at Futureproof, he had a little setup here like this, and he was just inviting people to come and prove him wrong. Because this amount of work, the level of commitment it takes and expertise it takes, has resulted in a lot of firms really failing at this. But you can't afford to ignore it, because the science behind it is real. This is the science of marketing. And so those issues, those challenges that have made so many firms just stop, has given rise to the firms who continue to make those investments, scaling billions in a very short time frame, because they're less well-funded or less persistent and committed competitors have not been executing at this level. And so what does that do? We'll take a look at the numbers. If you don't have automation, bringing leads in, enriching them, and responding to them in under 5 minutes, you have a conversion rate that drops from 85% to 5%, which means every dollar you spend on marketing is turning out less ROI. If you're not consistent, if you don't have a system like this that's automatically enriching and moving people through the process, that consistency and length of follow-up, if that's not there, then the dollars you're spending on marketing are coming out of the bottom of a leaky bucket, because they're not getting 6 to 8 touches that they need. 98% of leads aren't ready to buy right away, so they have to have that persistency. And if only 15% are going to convert in the first 90 days, the other 85% are going to convert in the coming years. So this can really never stop. If you invest in a system that does this, then you can continually drive that connected growth. So although this was very hard or virtually impossible in the past, today it's not. Today, you can build a system like this, configure it, and launch it very quickly. Less budget, less complexity, leveraging connectivity and AI, and built specifically for financial advisors and firms. You know, I just mentioned Wealthbox a moment ago. We recently had a firm come to us with over 500 advisors, over 100 offices, and they tried to do this for years with Salesforce. They've been able to do it in months with Snappy Kraken. We just connected. Our system is integrated with Wealthbox for that bi-directional data sharing. I mentioned Wealthbox a moment ago. We just had a firm. They spent years fighting with Salesforce. They had an 8-figure contract with Salesforce. Yes, over $1 million a year on Salesforce. And they're moving to Wealthbox and Snappy Kraken. This is because if you're working with platforms that have this connected already, you can implement this quickly. And this is something that we call the Smart Growth Suite. We rolled this out in 2025, and we are expanding it in 2026. So I'll share with you some of the features of it today that help make this connected growth possible, and some of the things that are coming in the future. But not a sales pitch. As we do, we're going to go through and share best practices as we always do. But I do want you to know also where the solutions are for these things. So growth, organic growth, is hard to come by. And there are a few firms growing very, very quickly, and yet the vast majority of the industry is growing at 3 to 5%, as you know. To drive connected growth, you need a fully automated lead conversion system. That means you have to have a way to capture all of your leads and bring them in to one centralized place where they can be analyzed, enriched with additional data, and qualified. Based on that data and qualification, they go into a group that is tailored to that persona. People in that same persona will be subscribed automatically to campaigns tailored for that persona. And then that person should begin receiving emails and text messages and links to videos and landing pages all within a matter of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. But without automation to do this connected growth, you end up with 24 to 48 hours being the average amount of time between when someone inquires of a firm or submits a lead and a typical advisor responds. 24 to 48 hours. And this makes a massive difference. I'm gonna show you a comparison of the difference. And then I'm going to show you a couple real world examples inside of firms. So here's the difference, okay? Let's take this path. So 2 advisors, all right? So let's just say that a potential client reaches out to 2 advisors. So advisor 1 immediately, because of automation and data enrichment, sends them a tailored welcome email, personalized text message. The next day nurtures them with educational content that is persona targeted. And then the client responds to that and books a meeting, all in just a few hours. Versus advisor 2, who responds 24 hours later. Now, why does this make such a difference? You'll see on the next slide. But look at a few data points on the right. 68% of advisors are competing for the same business right now. 68% are competing for the same leads. So data enrichment services, for example, Catchlight, who did this study, they've got advisors all over the country putting their leads in to be enriched in Catchlight so they can see when the same lead is getting enriched multiple times. So they have data on this. That's how we know. And 78% of people respond to the first responder. So purchase from, choose the first responder. So that's why responding in under 5 minutes is 21 times more effective. And again, the industry average is 24 to 48 hours. So what does this look like on the other end? So you take these 2 advisors, what's the outcome? An advisor who's using structured data, automation, and AI with the Smart Growth Suite. Now, I don't know what other people's data looks like, but I know what ours looks like. They're getting that contact in 5 minutes. They're sending a video tailored. The revenue advantage over 3 years, assuming they each get 100 leads that are worth $5,000 a year as a client. It's the difference between $150,000 in revenue and $1.1 million in revenue. So this automation not only drives a revenue difference, but all of this works behind the scenes. So it drives a time savings as well. If it's set up, it takes more time to set up, but it saves time once it's set up. And if you're setting it up manually, the way we talked about, versus with a partner, of course, you can save a lot of time even in that process. I want to give you a couple of real world examples. Now, we work with about 200 enterprises, and we recently did a case study on one of our fastest growing. They all grow at different rates, but I've been really impressed with this firm. They grew from 20 billion AUM to 40 billion AUM in under 4 years. And their advisors are smaller, but they've got about 400 advisors that are using Snappy Kraken today. And we've achieved this growth together. We've been working with them the entire 4 years. So I'll show you how this is all structured in a little bit. But here's 2 examples from their actual advisors. So Rob Russell, he brought in $150 million, $60 million from existing clients, $50 million from automated campaigns. So this particular advisor is using a system just like we've shared with you. The second one, Chad and Bailey, they are doing workshops, and then they are also putting the people from the workshops into a system just like this. And they generated 47 to 1 ROI on their workshop investments with automation combined. Now, what do they have in common? 2 different firms in this network. Number 1, layered marketing funnels. So they have 6 to 8 channels all working simultaneously 24/7. So remember I showed you those different campaigns, right? One for high net worth investors, one on taxes, one on retirement income. They're running all those campaigns simultaneously to different audiences. Both firms are doing this. Then they are personalizing the client experience and outreach at various stages based on the data. And the system is prompting them when and how to do that. And they are persistent. They never stop nurturing. They continue nurturing all the opportunities that come in this tailored way, nonstop. That's what's leading to the growth. So these principles that I'm sharing with you, the data I'm sharing with you in practice, you can see what it leads to. In this case, doubling, and not doubling a small number, doubling a big number in a relatively short period of time. So let's summarize. What is this really that we're talking about? It is a connected system. It's not a tool. You need a connected system that includes the tools that you use for this growth. All integrated, that's one. They're all talking, sharing data in real time. That data is being leveraged to do automation. So the system is handling the busy work. The segmentation of those contacts, once the automation is set up, is there so that people are going through tailored journeys. And then after the content is set up, it's only set up once. It's launched one time. So it can be used over and over again for each of those tailored personas. And you can see data on each channel, data on each advisor, data on each tactic, data on each campaign. So what does a connected system look like? All right, now we're going to get into a little bit more detail. Let me explain exactly what the connected system is. This is what we call the modern growth stack. So if you're here because you actually care about connected growth and how your data is used and leveraged, we're really going to get to the heart of that now. So I'm going to start at the very bottom. Business intelligence. Okay. If it's a gray box without a green line around it, that means it's not Snappy Kraken. Okay, just to be clear. If it is with a green line, it means it's something that we do. Right? So just to orient you a little bit. So you need business intelligence. Now, we give you a lot of business intelligence. You can add additional BI layers, things like Clipfolio, or there's a myriad number of BI tools out there that you could use. Something that helps you visualize your business. Now, you may or may not need that. That would be if you're really advanced. So we're not going to spend a lot of time there today. But that next layer is where your data primarily lives and needs to be your single source of truth, your CRM or your data lake. That's where your data can be structured as it needs to be organized so it can be leveraged by all the different systems. And in that layer, you need to own that data. So if you're not using a system or you're using a system, you don't know who owns the data, it's something important to ask about. So with Snappy Kraken, all our clients own their data. If you have your own CRM or data lake, all of your data should be flowing in there, and all of your data should be accessible to be queried from there. And that should be your primary source of truth. Everything else exists around that. So that BI layer is tapping into your data. All the automations above are tapping into your data. So with Snappy Kraken, there's a flow here that we think about. This is our way that we create predictable growth for the firms we partner with. So it starts with traffic. You've got to attract the right people in to your ecosystem. So you can begin to gather data on them and enrich that data and act on that data. So as traffic comes in, either from your website or your marketing campaigns, or you can see that little gray box above, other lead sources. Maybe you're buying leads from Dave Ramsey or Smart Asset. All of that needs to be captured. Once it's captured with automation and AI, hopefully taking unstructured data, reading it, and turning it into structured data in your CRM or data lake, that can be further enriched. Then it can trigger automated nurtures. Then drive for conversions where you can run your sale process and then identify high value clients who are likely to refer and create retention opportunities and referral opportunities. And inside of all of that, you've got a data layer. You see business intelligence just below that should be telling you how each of those phases is working. Where are their bottlenecks? Where are the leads flowing from? Where are the bookings happening? Where are they not happening? What's getting opened? What's not getting opened? And so you've got all this marketing automation activity, the outside sources flowing in, the business intelligence related to your ROI and marketing, all connected to your CRM or data lake, and then with additional supplementary business intelligence potentially on top of that. This is the modern growth stack. This gives you connected growth and full visibility to leverage your data. Let me break down each section and give you examples. First, let's talk about integrating. What do we mean when we say integrating? There are a lot of tools out there that say they integrate, but they don't really. I'll give you some examples. Most of our marketing automation competitors out in the space, I'll leave them unnamed, but in fact, all of them that focus on serving advisors, they only have one directional CRM syncing, or at best, they do it every 24 hours. It's not in real time. So the data is not flowing back and forth both ways in real time. So that means the systems aren't acting on it in real time. And that can be a problem. I mean, if you send somebody a happy anniversary message, at the day after their anniversary, it's not quite the same as if it's the same day. So this is just an example of one of the things that needs to be configured. So if you're using a CRM, Salesforce, Wealthbox, Redtail, you're using a marketing automation system like Snappy Kraken, every single group, whether it's configured on the marketing side or the CRM side, should be integrated. So they're synchronizing back and forth in real time. Is that the case for you today? This is a good little test you can run yourself through. If you're using third-party lead sources, maybe you're getting leads from workshops or evites, or you're buying leads, or you're getting leads from your website, where are all those going? See, in real time, they should all be captured. They should all be captured and flowing into your marketing automation system and your data lake or CRM. So that as soon as you have that opportunity, it's being paired with all your other data in a way that's useful and can be acted on. So one of the things we do is we use AI to read emails and capture leads even coming by email from every source. Once the data is there, if it's all coming in from your systems through the integrations, then the AI can begin to automate things and even just standard automations that aren't AI powered. For example, one of the things we do is we create segments, like you can see here on the left, and we create auto subscriptions to certain campaigns for certain segments. So if somebody drops into a new client segment, it triggers a new client campaign. If somebody drops into a high net promoter score segment, it triggers a referral campaign. If someone drops into a new lead from a workshop registration, it drops into a workshop, pre-workshop nurturing campaign. Automatic. So people come in, they automatically get subscribed. And as they begin engaging, what's the next step? The system starts seeing their activity. It starts identifying what they're doing, what they're engaging with. And so you can set up a group, give it a name, and tell it what the criteria is, right? How old are these people? What's their minimum asset level? What's their minimum income level? What source did they come from? And once you define that, just once, this quick, I mean, you see it happening here. It's a 30-second configuration. It's already looping again. Once you configure that, now every single person who comes in from anywhere on a journey should automatically go into that group for that dynamic nurturing. Think of the difference that makes versus just blasting the same thing to everyone. Because when something is tailored to them, when it's personal to them, related to their unique circumstances, the performance goes way up. And they know you're talking about something that's relevant for them. So once you configure these groups, then you can go and simply select which campaigns you want to apply to which groups. And it can be one click. Select the campaign. I want this campaign to go to this group. That's all you have to do. And then from then on, once that's set up, all of your clients, all of your prospects will be receiving tailored journeys. As that's happening, we talked about data visualization, right? That connected data has to lead to opportunities. So as they're clicking, as they're opening, what happens, right? They engage, their lead is scored, their asset level is determined, the opportunity is queued up at the right time. Sorry, I forgot to put my notes off of there. And then that allows you, as all of these things are happening, to take action on the ones that are priority. And as we talked about before, globally, to see your AUM pipeline in the process. So we've covered a lot of ground here. How do you get there? All right, let's just recap. To accomplish this, now that you've seen how the whole system fits together, how do you get this done? All right, so I'm going to say there are 5 things you have to do. All right, 5 things you have to do to get this in place. So number 1, you got to give real thought to your data integration. Take a hard look at your tech stack, the tools you're using to drive growth across marketing and your CRM especially. Are they integrated? Are they integrated for dynamic real-time synchronizing so that it happens immediately? And is that data passing back and forth in real time? Number 2, have you set up automatic segmentation So the system is reading all the activities on your data, the people in your database, and putting them into segments that are relevant and tailored. Third, have you set up automations for each of those segments so that if they drop into a segment, there is an intelligent automation for them? Four, you configure the multi-channel approach for each of those segments. So those automations that move them into those segments, they should be engaged with by email and text message and on social media. Do you have a multi-channel journey? So if they're researching you or going other places, will they find it on your website? Will they find it in their inbox? Will they find it on your social feed? And will it be tailored to them? And that's really the fifth point. You have to think about the people. Are you possibly sending content that isn't relevant to people? In this era of AI and data and personalization, people expect things to be tailored to them. And what do you do when you get all that spam in your inbox and it's not tailored to you? You ignore it. So today, tailored journeys based on data integration, segmentation, intelligent automation, tailored journeys that are multi-channel are what drive conversions. It's also what saves time. And you can do this at scale, whether you're an individual advisor or you're running a large firm and doing this for hundreds or thousands of advisors. Connected growth. Connected growth. So we've covered a lot today, and I can't believe we've already been together for almost an hour. So in conclusion, if you would like help building this, or you would like to see how it actually looks, please scan the QR code here on the screen, set up a time, and my team would love to walk you through it. 2025, a year of AI. Disconnected, more noise. 2026, connection. Less noise, more purpose, more intention. And we would love to be your partner in helping you do this. So whether you're a Snappy Kraken client or not, we look forward to the opportunity to grow with you and help you pursue connected growth in 2026. If I don't see you again, by all means, please take away my best wishes for a wonderful end to the year and a great 2026 as well. It's a pleasure serving you, and we hope you've enjoyed this time together today. I know I certainly have. And any questions that you have, I didn't see any come through the Q&A. My team will reach out, but I'm also available. So if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn or send me an email, robert@snappykraken.com, I'm also happy to talk with you one-on-one. All right, have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, and we look forward to working with you in the years ahead.